Mr. Nat King Cole introduces us with Unforgettable, which is what our stand-in. Notice I didn't say replacement for Judy Busby, but our stand-in. Nobody can replace the inevitable Judy Busby, but I'll tell you, we've sure got a great stand-in, and so we're really very appreciative of Julie King offering her time to be with us this morning. Julie is director of senior activities that's not correct. I knew I'd mess that up. So, Julie King, you tell us what your official title is out there at the state.
I am the Director of Independent Living Services at the Christian Village, and that title and $1 will get you a nice cup of coffee.
Well, I'll guarantee you one thing: you independent seniors, you got that right. So that part of the title is exactly right.
Well, as long as you guys think you're independent, that's really all that matters.
We moved into the Christian Village here a year ago in March, and it was a great move for the old fella. Not so much for Mrs. Gossett yet, but it's a wonderful place to be able to put your head down on a pillow at night. They really work hard to take care of you out there, and their facilities are lovely.
Well, thank you.
And Julie does a great job of keeping everybody moving around on the chessboard. And she does a great job of jumping the king and the queen and whatever goes on out there on the chessboards. So we appreciate, Julie, seriously, your being with us this morning. You'll recall, because I know you're such an avid listener, that we always start Viewpoint with a kudo or two.
Yes.
So I'm going to hand the first kudo to you, my dear. So
all right.
I'm passing you a baton.
You are officially invited to a veterans breakfast on November 16th.
That is if you're a veteran.
Yes, I'm getting there. It's for all veterans and widows, widowers of veterans, and it's at the Eminence Christian Church in Atlanta, Illinois. It starts at 9 a.m. There is handicap accessibility over on the east entrance at the carport. I know the village is planning on bringing a bus of our residents to come and enjoy it. Our chaplain, Ryan Edgecombe, likes to load up the bus and take our folks to participate, so I'm really pleased with that.
Well, it's a nice little event. We old geezers appreciate all the effort. There's a lot of people go to a lot of work to put these things on, and Marcia Fernandez, who has helped with us before at the village, has been an integral part in making this thing work. So
the other Bill?
Yes,
Bill Dennis.
Bill Dennis, William Dennis. So he gets us up there and back. He always wants to stop at Lawndale, though, for a little bump.
As long as he doesn't leave you out there like a little sack of puppies, we're okay.
No, seriously, that's a very nice event. And on behalf of all the veterans who participate in that, I'm going to be bold enough to speak for them and say thank you very, very much to all those folks up there at Eminence Christian Church. And in the same vein, for a number of years, folks that started here with the youngsters, little folks at St. John's United Church of Christ, for a number of years they sponsored a breakfast for the veterans, and it's expanded and gotten bigger and bigger. And this year it's going to be at the Legion again, this Sunday, November the 10th. Not this Sunday, but November the 10th. Again, veteran celebration, and St. John's United Church of Christ and their youngsters, which is very important, have been kind enough to invite veterans out for breakfast and a little program, and we appreciate that very, very much. I'm going to give an unheralded note to Tonetta Reifstack, which I think was a major force in moving and getting that kick-started. So thank you very much, folks, for honoring us old folks. We're getting out of here a day at a time now, so every day you say something to us, it's pretty nice. Thank you. Let's get serious and bring our guest on. Oh, wait a minute. I had a very important. Yes, I picked this up in the local newspaper this morning. J.T. Gazzardo, grandson of Dominic and Rose Gazzardo of Gazzardo's Restaurant, noted of fame. Young J.T. made Student of the Month at Lincoln Land Technical Educational Center. It has to do with culinary arts. I'm shocked.
Imagine that.
I'm shocked that he would have an interest in culinary arts.
I don't know where he got it. That's just it's
Where did he get that?
mind-boggling.
Where did he find out? Oh, so
Indeed.
good for JT. And I know that his mother and father, Nick and Shelley, are very, very proud of him. So keep going, son. Serve us eggs over easy some morning. Thank you. Let's get serious and introduce our guest who's been kind enough to give up an important part of his day. This is the day he sleeps in, so he got up early for us. Mr. Marc Schoonover.
Thank you.
Marc, your technical title now is retired,
That's correct.
but you were a plant engineer at Eaton Industries, which we formerly knew as Cutler Hammer.
That is correct. For 41 glorious years.
Wow.
You know, I thought I had the record for working a long time, but that's going to come pretty close. I worked over 50 years before I finally quit. Yeah. The only reason I quit is I couldn't see the screws in the walls anymore, so I decided that had time to quit. So, Mrs. Busby had visited with you.
Yes.
And brought you aboard here, and she slipped away on me this morning.
Yeah.
And didn't give me your background as to why she wanted Marc Schoonover up here. So let's get into that, Marc.
Well, we had an original discussion. I've worked for many years with Cass, which is a daughter to Judy and Orville. And,
Very bright girl,
yep.
too.
And we were
Very
visiting
bright.
one day downtown. It was during the barbecue fest. I helped Chris Grau with the barbecue committee. And we're driving around in a golf cart, and up walks Cass and Judy, and we start having this conversation. Mostly it was about you. And so she felt that I might have enough ammunition that I could come on and hold my own with you. So she says, I'm going to call you one day and invite you on, and we'll just talk about things. So here we are to talk about things.
Well,
No subject matter is off limits, I guess.
well,
Except for politics. We're going to stay away from politics.
Oh, a call already this morning. My goodness gracious. It's probably Mrs. Busby calling in. She's awakened from her slumber up in Minnesota. Go right ahead, caller.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, young lady.
How are you, Bill?
Well, did you have a good night's sleep?
Yeah, I did. I dreamt about you, and I dreamt that we're only
That's
2
off limits
days.
on radio.
We're only 2 days from your birthday.
Oh, yes, 2 days.
And Marc, I don't know where Marc got all of his information, but he seems to know a very lot about you, and goodness knows there's a lot to know about you.
I deny all the allegations.
Yeah. Even if they're true.
No, Bill, I'll tell you something, and not everybody can say this, but by George, everything I've ever known about you has been good, just top notch.
Oh, you've been listening to the wrong people, my dear.
You're a dear heart, and you've been a good neighbor for 40-some years until you left me high and dry for Julie there, just because she's young and pretty and smart.
Yeah. Well, she's all of the above, and by the way, does a whale of a job for us old people out there at the home.
Yeah, she does, and has done for a few years. You know,
You have to bow your head reverentially when you say the home.
the home. Yeah. You can tell Julie. I've called it respectfully, by the way, the Sunset Home, because that was where my folks grew up down in southern Minnesota, and the home in their town of Kenyon was called the Sunset Home.
The Sunset Home.
And it was a very nice place, and when my dear grandmother went there, she'd been a midwife for years and years back a few years ago, and when she got to the Sunset Home, she thought she was back in the midwife business and was responsible for all the people who lived there, and she worked real hard. Bless your heart.
Well, we sure how your driver, your Uber person, get you there all right?
Oh gosh, yes, yeah. We got up here just fine, and it's a not nasty morning. It's a little bit windy and it's a little bit cloudy, but I'm sitting here looking out over the birch trees and a couple of spindly old trees, and
wait till Julie gets her violin out while you.
Oh yeah, you poor thing.
oh, it's
Hey, Judy.
It's called living. And how are you, Julie?
I am doing very well. I was going to tell you, I've already let the cat out once, so I'm keeping your chair warm. But my son and husband were just up there 2 weeks ago, and they were closing up the cabin, and they had to chip the water off of the toilet so they could use it. So I'm hoping you're a little warmer than that.
Do you suppose our sponsors know they're paying for this kind of trite stuff?
Well, since just brought me a weather bulletin here. It's snowing here.
Oh, well, you can keep it. That's all right.
Good.
Go ahead, Mr. Schoonover. Do you want to say goodbye to this beautiful young lady?
Well, Judy, thanks for setting this up and inviting me out. Even though you dropped me like a hot potato and left town.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah.
Well, I want you to kind of grill our dear friend Bill, because there's so many stories that he has begot over the years.
I understand. I can tell already that John's vodka supply has not been diminished too much. So. All right. Thank you, Judith K.
Hey, bless your heart.
Thank you, honey.
Good day.
Bye-bye.
And thanks.
Okay. Thank you
Talk
very
to you
much.
later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Judy.
Bye now.
Bye, guys.
Well, there's the best investment Jim Ash has made in a long time when he brought Judy to be a part of the WLCN family up here. So, bright young lady. She's not so young anymore. She celebrated kind of a big birthday, but we're not going to tell what it was, even though it was 10 years shy of 90.
10 years shy of 90. I'll pull off my shoes so I can do the calculations.
So,
Math.
So, Mark, I want to know the dirt on Bill Gossett.
Well, first of all, there is no dirt.
Well,
It's dust.
well, there's a lot of that.
Rust.
I can assure you.
And rust. Dust and rust.
There might be
Dust
a
and
little
rust.
Yeah, because I came to live in Lincoln in 1975.
Okay.
So
that's I came here in 72.
Okay.
As a
preceded
freshman
me.
in high school, my family moved here and they bought a business and from old Shane's shoe
Al
store.
Shane's.
Oh, yeah.
A.W. Shane.
Whose motto was "We fit feet to keep
Fit.
Yeah, fit. Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Too many F's in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Your teeth still in?
He was A.W. was a gentle old soul. He taught me a lot of stuff. He was
Nice man.
But he had a little trickery to him. You had to watch him. I mean, he was sly, so he knew how to make a nickel when he needed to. So, so we weren't too far apart. I graduated high school in '75. So.
Okay, and I started LCC as a freshman.
As a
in
freshman.
75, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
What
anyway,
am I doing here with these kids?
Yeah. So there's stories about Bill, but the one good story that I shared with Judy one day is that during our barbecue event, we get these competitors that come in, and they're professional barbecue cooks.
Oh, they
and there was
are
a
that.
nice family came, and they were from out of Wisconsin. And they had their daughters and husband, wife, and two daughters. And they'd been out for a long walk on a Saturday morning. As they came back to the area, they said, "We met the nicest man. We went to Postville Courthouse." And we took a walk, and we ended up at Postville Courthouse. And on the way back, we ran into this man, and he explained everything about Postville Courthouse and Lincoln and how it was founded. And I said, "Then you ran into Bill Gossett."
No fooling.
They said, "Yes, that was his name, Bill Gossett." And I said, "So here, I can tell you, did he tell you about how Lincoln was christened by Abraham Lincoln? I believe the only Lincoln that was named for Lincoln while Lincoln was still alive, I believe.
That's correct.
And I said, she said, he told us it was christened with the juice from a watermelon. And I said, well, and you know it's true if Bill told you because he was there.
Yes. That's
Now,
what
I said he was probably only 11 or 12 at that
Something
time.
to be said for that.
So quickly, the little girl's doing the math, and she said, that would make him 150. I said, well, give or take a decade. I said, so Bill is the authority on all that is Lincoln historically. I would say. I don't know that there's
Paul Beaver.
Paul Beaver
would take that.
Yeah, but
He's not with us anymore.
so you're here to share all that with us and remember all those days. Remember when there was the Gossett's dry cleaners.
Yes.
And the building's gone now.
That's why I'm here in Lincoln now.
Yeah.
Instead of when I came back from Europe during the big wars, they used to say, that's a terrible thing. All wars are big. All wars are terrible. But they refer to WW2 as a big war. I don't think that's so. But in any event, I came back and I found my father critically ill and not able to continue in business, and that's why I'm here. I was going back to the University of Illinois to go to law school. And I'd probably struggled as a lawyer, I can bet you on that. But anyway.
Well, you have that propensity for arguing, so I think you would have held your own.
You would have been fine.
I've had 70 years of that at my house.
Yes, you have. Rhoda G. prepared you to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
So,
There you go.
So that's kind of an interesting sidelight. I have no knowledge or memory of anything like that at all. But the barbecue that we have, Chris and the group they do a whale of a job on that. And I always kind of make it a point to stop and see some strangers there and talk to them and ask them how Lincoln treats them and so forth. And to a vendor, they all are very, very ecstatic about how Lincoln handles them, and so it's a big thing for the community. And I only do that just as a little PR work for the community.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes we get a little caught up in ourselves, and we forget what we've got here. And so then when you see these folks coming, they come from big cities and small towns, and they love coming to Lincoln. They really do. The backdrop, they enjoy the downtown area and visiting the businesses downtown, and everybody's so friendly.
And the organizers of the event seem to know what the heck they're doing because they're all very satisfied and very pleased to be here as contestants. So it's a nice thing.
Yeah, we pamper them as a committee. We make sure that they have everything they need. Any questions? We don't want them to walk away with a question. We'll go find it. We may not have the answer, but we can go get the answer. And that's all people ever expect is to have their questions answered. And that's what we try to do.
Well, Julie, I'm going to ask you. Let's go back to the as we bow our heads and say the home reverentially. Your mission out there. You just do a way over there. Do you want to expand on that word, the mission out there, as to your job? What we do and why we do it? That's right. Yeah, you do such a good job. In my judgment, you do a great job.
Well, thank you. First and foremost, we do what we do. Everybody knows the Christian Village. It's got his name in the title, so you kind of know who we work for. But that's what drives us. We believe that everyone is made in the image of God and therefore needs to be treated with respect and dignity. And my job every single day is to make sure that the people under my care live as independent and abundantly as they possibly can. And I emphasize abundance. I mean, I want them to live the fullest life they can live at whatever stage they are in their aging process. And some days that's really a challenge, and other days I get lessons in living every single day, and living well and living right. I wouldn't trade my job for anybody else's. I really wouldn't. It is complete with every aggravation you could possibly imagine.
You bet.
But that's life. You're not going to go anywhere and find a stress-free, aggravation-free world.
That's right.
But I get as much as I give, and sometimes I get even more. So I love what I do.
Sure.
I wanted to mention, if I have your permission,
Wait till ask Jim.
Jim, can I say something? Yeah. Okay. Starting November 4th, we're sponsoring coffee at different restaurants in the Logan County area, and we're just calling it Coffee with Friends. So we're going to start out at the Guest House on November 4th at 7:30 to 9 o'clock. If you come in, we're buying your coffee. Now, I don't expect you to get one of those grande, frappa macchiato things. I'll pay for your coffee. But then we're going to move around to different places. Daphne's and the Country Air.
Mama's Cafe.
Mama's Cafe. McDonald's. The guys that drink coffee at McDonald's call it the university. I love it. So they go to the university for coffee. So we'll be through November and December just saying thank you to the community that has been so good to us. So I'm excited about that.
And you also have out there at the home and the congregate building.
We do.
I might just as well say, describe what the Christian Village is. We have 13 duplex apartments. You have several smaller casitas, for want of a better word, for individuals or single. Then you have the congregate building, which is where my mother was for 10 years. And
I think you put the flooring in or the window treatments in most of the Christian Village at one point or another.
Which reminds me of one at a dear lady, now long since gone, Mrs. Carl Schreiber, Wanda Schreiber, and she was a resident of what would have been Grace Point. And she came out there, and of course she opened the door and was going to go out, and the alarm went off, and some girl came and come on now, Wanda, you come go with me. And Wanda says, a couple of explicatives, you're always trying to take me somewhere.
I remember that. So we have our independent living, duplexes, cottages, the senior apartments. And then we have Grace Point, which is for rehab to home, just a little short stay. We have one little apartment in the congregate building, as you called it, that we call almost home, and that's for somebody who does their therapy, and let's say family's trying to make the bathroom door wider, to make it ADA. This is a temporary place to stay. So you can just, it's basically like an extended stay suite at a hotel. So you get 3 meals a day, housekeeping, laundry, furnished apartment, pet friendly if you've got a cat or a dog that you want to keep you company, and you can just do it for a short time stay. Or if, let's say, Marc was caring for someone in his home and then there's a wedding that you want to go to, the person you're caring for would come and stay with us. And then
visit for a few days.
Exactly. They get a staycation, you get a vacation. Then we have the memory care for people that have different memory issues.
Which is really vital to families.
It truly is.
My mother's in the memory care unit at George Garr Memory Care.
Memory Care.
Yeah, it gets great care. It's a wonderful place.
I'm so glad.
She kept wandering in there, so they kept her.
Well, it's a godsend to a family who has a loved one with that problem. And it is a problem for everybody concerned. And I just saw a thing on I watched TV the other night.
You did not.
And something on dementia. They're working on that. Thought they'd come close to a breakthrough on that. That would be a godsend for everybody if they could.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It is awful.
Yes. The person is not the same person at all. They're just a shell. A physical shell of what they were, what we all knew. And in the old days, they had the county poor farm. And there they put them. To rot.
I'm glad we don't have those days anymore.
Memory care unit is wonderful. It's a little more communal in there. They try to keep them out of their rooms and out in the common area, and they have all sorts of activities and just try to keep them active. And that's the biggest part.
Speaking of memory care, and this is very vital, I just realized that I have experienced a big part of that right now. Here we are, well into the program, and we have sponsors who are very, very nice.
And we haven't forgotten.
And they make these programs available through their largesse and through their activities and community mindedness. And here we just stepped right all over them this morning. So maybe I'm ready for George Garr. Go right ahead, Jim. Right back live in the studios here this morning, WLCN, as you all know, 96.3 on your FM dial. Our assistant this morning, Bill's very, very, really important assistant is Miss Julie King, Mrs. Julie King. Really important. Judy found it necessary to get away from me for a few days, so she's thriving out from underneath my care. And our guest this morning, Mr. Marc Schoonover, good young gentleman. I remember when his dad brought him here to Lincoln, Illinois, to go into Al Shane's shoe store.
That's right. Those were the days.
That's a long days ago. So Marc has been vitally involved in the community since he got here as a kid in high school, and was a 41-year employee with what we call Eaton Industries, formerly Cutler Hammer.
That's right.
A very important job there. So we appreciate your taking your time to visit with us about the old days, Marc.
Sure.
You've seen a lot go by as a youngster.
Yeah, it's you see things change. The downtown area. We saw it. It used to be, and Bill would remember in the old Friday nights, and you couldn't find a place to park. It was bustling. Sidewalks were full of customers, and then as businesses evolved, we lost a lot of business and people going to the malls and the bright and shiny, and now you start to see these small towns are starting to revive, and the businesses are changing. You may not have the typical old dry goods types of businesses, but you see boutiques and things like that.
Right.
So the business is starting to come back around, which is nice for our downtown area.
Yeah, and those long ago area that you talked about, they used to have the Kreisky's Corners, as it was known.
Yep.
Old timers came in from the farms early, so they get a good parking spot so they can see who's walking on the street.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I used to work at Decker's.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
Decker's Family
Yeah.
Shoe back in the day, and there was Decker's Family Shoe. Then there was bars, which bars eventually Decker's moved into this where bars is, which is now a very important Spirited Republic that I visit quite often. So then you had then Shane's, and then there was another shoe store which was down across from Beach.
Oh, yeah, Jim Campbell had that on the alley right behind Kreisky's shoe store.
Yep.
Yeah,
Anyway, so, and I remember in those days that we would do such things as a customer would come in, they're looking for something, and Dad always say, well, let's call around for you. I said, call Decker's or call bars and say, hey, got a lady over here and she's looking for this. Do you have anything for it? Yeah, send her over. And I always thought, why are we doing that? He said, better than letting them drive to Bloomington or Peoria or
you never wanted to give them the impression.
Community
If I
minded.
can't have that dollar, let's let Decker's have that dollar.
Yeah.
Or,
And that's why he's a
or
respected
bar
businessman
shoes.
downtown,
Let's
too.
let somebody else have that
One of the
dollar.
reasons.
And it saves them a trip,
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you said, you just kind of mentioned, and we're not going to charge them for this commercial. You managed to institution that started here not too long ago, a year or so, Spirited Republic.
They're about on their fourth year, I believe,
is that right?
coming up.
All of it to go that fast, boy. A couple of young men and had an idea.
Yep.
And by golly, it's a unique place.
Yeah.
And an asset to the community.
Troy and Buzzy do a great job. Troy was neighbor of yours.
Yes,
correct?
for
Yeah, you
years.
guys had the flag wars for years. Who
I
could
started
put the
that
most
flag
flags?
war.
Who could put
And
the
so I
most
went
flags
to-
out?
Yep.
Old Troy Hanger grabbed that and he ran with it.
That's right. Yeah.
And so if you go by Lincoln Avenue, up and down Lincoln Avenue on a national holiday, prepare to see lots of flags.
Yeah, that's right.
And Troy's
It's a good thing.
He and Dave Gerlach and Norm Newhouse, they took care of that block. So they've done a great job. The community Julie, we were talking this morning. She had an idea. Go ahead and expand on that idea a little bit. I thought it was unique. I thought it was kind of unique.
I was thinking about Lincoln and all of the large industry that has been here and since gone by the wayside. We still have those buildings here.
Yep.
We have a willing workforce ready to work for whomever comes. We are centrally located in the nation.
Yes.
I mean, we're very close to the center of the United States. We're in the center of the state itself. We're on the I-55 corridor. We're 2 hours from major metropolitan areas, Chicago and St. Louis. We've got decent access to railway, trucking, you name it. What would it take to turn Lincoln into a distribution center for like an Amazon?
Yeah.
And each one of those empty factories could be one segment of what they ship.
Yeah.
So you could have housewares, furniture, all of those things like that in one of what used to be Cutler Hammer. Well, no, we can't. Eaton's still up and running, but you get the drift of what I'm saying.
It's there's economic growth. Everybody's out trying to fight for that business. You know? And it's don't want to get all wrapped up in politics this morning, but a lot of it does have to do with some politics and taxation and all those things that businesses are looking for. They're looking for a break to come in and do these things and abatements of taxes and all those things. So,
well, we've done it for Cisco, so why couldn't we?
Does anybody know Jim Bezos? We call Jim Bezos of Amazon, and maybe he might be interested in the
ironically,
idea.
all those things that you talk about in the 50s when Cutler Hammer expanded, it was they were based out of the Bronx, New York, and they had built during World War II, which Bill mentioned, and Bill's one of the greatest generation that fought that battle on my father, and. They had built a facility in Milwaukee to service Great Lakes Naval Base. They were building equipment to refit ships for war. And after the war, they realized that they needed to move west. And if we think about the 40s, anything west of the Mississippi was west. So they looked, and what did they find here in Lincoln? They found some property that was next to Route 66, which at that time was the only uninterrupted highway that ran from Chicago to L.A. So logistics were just as important in the 50s as they are today. And there was a rail spur that came in. They could get steel deliveries and all those things. So, they bought that chunk of ground and they plopped that down. And so for 20 years, it was Cutler Hammer until Eaton purchased the Cutler Hammer in 1978. That was, I always would tell people during orientation, I would help with new employees. I said 2 things happened in 1978, one major, one minor, and it's up to you to decide which was the most important. I was hired, and Eaton bought Cutler Hammer, so I would always leave people decide which was the most important thing. But so that's what, even in those days, that's what people are looking for, and your thoughts are well spoken. That here we are, centrally located. It could be a hub.
About as central as it gets,
and with not a lot of work.
Right.
45 minutes from 3 major airports.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Springfield, Peoria, and Bloomington.
Yeah.
And the big wigs could fly in and fly out, but if you didn't want to live in a town as small as Lincoln, we still have Springfield, Bloomington, Decatur, all nice urban areas that you could live in with. There's wonderful things available within 30 minutes of us. There's terrific things available right here in Lincoln that most people don't avail themselves of.
That's true.
Which is kind of a shame.
It is.
Which, by the way, we have a tax referendum coming up, and I just want to make one comment about that, and that is we missed a great opportunity a few months ago when that failed by a little bit, not much. 50 cents on the 100, I believe. 50 cents. That's .50 with a cent mark behind it per $100 tax. That's awfully small. And the reason I meant that is we're running into a serious problem at the courthouse. And that building is an architectural gem.
Yeah.
I said, well, just tear the damn thing down. Well, this has become a throwaway society. That really is an important, integral part of this county. And so I'm going to do a little lobbying on behalf of the county board members to ask folks to think of that in a positive way when they go to the polls. 50 cents on $100 is not a lot of money.
Yep.
And that would go a long ways toward alleviating a very serious problem. It'd be a shame to lose that building.
Right.
That is just an architectural gem.
Yeah. I know it's such a nice backdrop for when we have our barbecue event. People,
sure.
they love that.
Yeah.
They love that old building and
Well, and speaking
It's
of that, the
historic.
library.
sure.
That's a Carnegie
Yes,
Foundation
that's a Carnegie building.
building, and it is phenomenal. And again, it's just this little hidden gem that very few people
Yeah.
know exists, or if they do, they don't have the appreciation for it that they really should for its history.
Speaking of history,
it's just
Bill,
beautiful.
correct me if I'm wrong. The Postville Courthouse is actually a replica.
That's correct.
The original did Mr. Henry Ford.
Henry Ford bought that, took it off, put it up in Dearborn Village up there. And we later had pangs of conscience about that. And I think the number for rebuilding the existing building was $25,000.
Really?
And
Really? That's
but
amazing.
that was a long time ago. Well, I'll tell you another thing that happened architecturally, and this speaks to me personally because my father was involved in that. That wonderful auditorium at the Chautauqua grounds, magnificent building, all in the round and a seat for something like 4,000 people, as I remember. And not a comfortable seat in the house either, by the way. But the Elks Crippled Children owned that ground, the Chautauqua grounds, and they acquired that with the intent and the direct purpose of putting a rehabilitation center out there for handicapped youngsters. Very noble cause. And the need for that kind of service was precluded by other facilities that went up around the country. So they didn't have the need to do what they planned to do. This was during the World War II. And in a spirit of patriotism, the committee sold or gave the scrap metal to the country for the war effort. And so we lost that. And that's how we lost that community, that largest auditorium.
Where was it?
Right just over next to the golf course on the south side of the Chautauqua. You get the picture. Go into the. Yes, certainly.
I'll get right on that.
Yeah.
Well,
How will I know when I got there?
she's come calling again.
It's right now. Remember, move's not far.
Before I forget, she's
Move's
come
not
back
far,
now.
Bill. It's just right there,
Right
across the other
the
side of the
depot.
Congress building. You're there.
The Historical Society has some great pictures of
Gotcha.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
so-
and that's another place that I
See,
wish
she
folks
came
would
calling
enter
again.
more.
Speaking of Alzheimer's,
You know, I usually tell people my thoughts are like carousel ponies. Give it a minute, it'll come back around. Yeah.
so that's a part of the community, and it was an integral part of the community at the time. So Nancy Gelbaugh, who's a pretty good writer, gave a little program the other day at the Historical Society, and it was rather interesting to relive that time again. Those were the innocent times, and of course. Somebody said the Depression was over in 1938, and I turned around and I said, no, it wasn't over in 1938 in my house.
Yeah.
So it's all a perspective and how you remember things.
Right.
And when you get my age, you start doing a lot of repeating.
Yeah.
And you do start doing a lot of remembering. And so then I have to get in the presence of somebody like Julie King, and who's young and vivacious and kind of keeps things going. And
Thank you for that reminder, because there are days when I think I could spray my backside with Indust and clean the halls while I walk. I'm getting old.
You You have to associate yourself with younger people when you get old.
Oh yeah.
I firmly believe that. Get out of your own society and get with the younger kids.
Well, there's actually some research that underscores that says that we should always maintain friends 20 years younger than us, the same age as we, and 20 years older than us throughout our entire lives. Of course, now, if you got somebody 20 years older than you, I want to meet them.
That's going to be an experience.
Yeah.
Because the young ones keep you learning.
Right.
And the ones your own age keep you remembering the good times that you had, and the ones that are older than you impart wisdom and knowledge and give you an appreciation for the way things were and the way things are now.
True.
So
True.
you lead, again, it goes back to that abundant life. It's rich and full if you don't limit yourself to a certain demographic, whether it's age or race or whatever, religion, whatever it is. You just spread that circle and learn as you go.
That's a good close for you, Mrs. King. Mr. Schoonover, do you have anything you'd like to comment as we close?
I just want to wish you a happy 96th birthday coming up. 2 days?
Couple of days. I don't know. What is today?
God,
Monday.
God, I hope you make it.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I just don't get through the weekend.
Maybe God will give you a pass.
Yeah. Hey, well, let's hope you get to 100.
There you go.
If I know it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we appreciate your taking your time
Well,
to come
thank
with
you.
us, Mark. Nice to be with a younger guy like you, still sharp, and I might work 41 years for somebody who shows a lot of stick-to-itiveness, by golly. So
That's right.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Let's try to close Viewpoint with a comment, and the comment is simply the same one I'm always going to make. Be the reason somebody smiled today. Thank you for Viewpoint.